Pop star Aaron Carter has at the age of 34.
Yeah, the troubled performer grew up in the limelight, but he was in and out of rehab several.
There's a short life in
Why do you think that is with the creative side?
Well, because losing out money, you got to take. You're going through so much to try and deal with life.
The news hit like a lightning bolt. Aaron Carter is dead at 34. The pop star, who spent nearly his entire life in the spotlight, was gone, found lifeless in his bathroom. It seemed sudden, senseless, and deeply unsettling. For fans and family alike, it didn't just feel tragic. It felt off like a story missing its final chapter. The official cause? An accidental overdose. A mix of substances, the coroner said. But from the very beginning, Aaron's mother, Jane Schneck, didn't buy it. Her grief quickly turned into outrage. She pointed out inconsistencies, shared crime scene photos.
Hadn't seen him all day Friday, and then decided she always gave him coffee in the morning, made coffee for him. So she went to his door, his bedroom door, and knocked on it, and then heard the dog in an extremely agitated state inside Aaron's bedroom. And that's when she decided she would open the door, and she discovered him. But it looks, Brad, like he had been
seen photos and asked the question echoing through social media. Why were the towels perfectly folded? Why did everything look staged? And then there were the other details that refused to sit right. His body was found in the bathtub, the water having turned a murky green. His phone, usually glued to his hand, was found in his car, not in the room. Scattered clothes, smears on the floor, and a dog in distress. It didn't look like a peaceful accident. It looked like a scene someone cleaned up. But perhaps the most haunting part? Aaron knew something was coming. In the months leading up to his death, he spoke often about feeling threatened. He received cryptic messages. He feared for his life. And in a TikTok video posted just 2 days before he died, he looked frantic, disconnected, saying people were trying to silence him. He even mentioned tapes, evidence, something that could ruin lives. That's when the whispers started, again. The name Diddy floated to the surface. Already under fire from a growing list of lawsuits and disturbing allegations, some began to connect between Aaron's warnings and the explosive stories surrounding Diddy's so-called freak-offs. Elite, secretive...
Yeah, Rick, MB, the street is now cleared. People have been moving in and out of that home behind me all day. And tonight we heard from some of those closest to Aaron Carter, and they all say the same thing. They all share stories of a very kind, loving, caring, humble, yet troubled young man.
Rumored to be hiding something darker than celebrity hedonism. Aaron never named names. But he described powerful people, disturbing encounters, and being pulled into situations far beyond his control when he was still just a teenager. Could it be that he saw something he wasn't supposed to? That he knew too much? His mother thinks so. And she isn't alone. People close to Aaron described a man who was loving, humble, but increasingly paranoid. He'd been looking into hiring private security. He was trying to sell his house. He wanted to move on, start over. And then he was gone. The woman who found him, a relatively new housekeeper, had been living with him. But her story has raised more questions than answers. Why did it take so long for her to check on him? Why was she reportedly so calm when she found him? Nothing about it added up. At least, not to those paying attention. Meanwhile, online sleuths began digging. The tapes Aaron hinted at. Could they be real? Federal investigators now claim they are. Footage reportedly exists showing Diddy orchestrating the very kinds of events long shrouded in mystery. Dark, controlled, and filmed. Not just parties. Productions.
My family knows, before I did the show, The Doctors, they knew that I was taking Xanax and stuff like that, and that I was going to actually psychiatrists to do that. I know that there is no happy ending to any of those medications.
Proud of you for realizing.
With props, themes, roles, and cameras. Cameras that kept recording long after the music stopped. Prosecutors now say the footage shows not just overindulgence, but control, manipulation, blackmail. The tapes weren't for memories. They were leverage, insurance, a way to ensure silence. Names have begun to emerge. Big ones. Hollywood royalty. And one name has come up repeatedly. Terrence Howard.
My greatest fear? I don't even know how to answer that question. Not being able to live as long as I can. That's my greatest.
Terrence Howard. In a chilling interview, Howard recalled a strange and unsettling encounter with Diddy. Suddenly, his vague, uncomfortable anecdotes now seemed part of a larger, much more disturbing puzzle. And it didn't end there. Hidden financial records revealed enormous payouts, hush money masked as consulting fees, settlements, and bonuses. Individuals who had once been close to Diddy were allegedly paid to stay quiet, to disappear, or simply to forget. And yet, the story refused to stay buried. With the tapes now in the hands of investigators, the industry is bracing itself. Because this isn't just about Diddy anymore. It's about how deep the rock goes. About an entire system that has protected powerful people for decades. About who knew and stayed silent. And Aaron Carter? He might have been a casualty of that.
You are literally, it's an unhealthy space. And so eventually you're going to go too far, you know? Who knows what happened to Philip? Who knows what he had to do in order to get to where he was at? There's a lot of things that people do that end up sitting and they can't get over it. And they got to keep getting high, hoping to get it out of their head, you know? But when you lose your man card.
He might have been a casualty of that system. A young man with demons, yes, but also someone who, in his final days, seemed terrified, determined, and desperate to speak. Someone who may have tried to warn us. So we have to ask, was Aaron Carter's death really just another overdose? Or was it something far more sinister, a silencing? And if it was, who else is next? Want me to break this up for a video script with sections and titles? On November 5th, 2022, news broke that singer Aaron Carter had been found dead in his home. At just 34 years old, the pop star's passing stunned the world. It was ruled an accident, a drowning linked to drug use, the latest tragic chapter in a life marked by fame, controversy, and struggle. But almost immediately, the official narrative didn't sit right with those closest to him, or the fans who had followed his rise, fall, and attempted comeback. He was found in his bathroom in a bathtub, but the scene was too neat. The towels were folded. His phone, his lifeline, wasn't near him. The tub water had turned green, suggesting hours had passed. Something didn't add up. Aaron's mother, Jane Schneck, wasn't convinced this was an accident. From the start, she believed something more sinister had happened. She posted crime scene photos that she said didn't make sense. A bathroom that looked too clean, a body that made...
What is that? What do you mean by that?
You give up your ability, your right to being a man. A man don't take it, a man gives it. So when you give up that man card, you don't get that back.
Are you saying what I think you're saying?
No, I'm saying what I'm saying.
A body that may have been moved, and a phone that had somehow ended up in his car. She even asked the question that launched 1,000 theories. Why are the towels perfectly placed? Jane believed the case had been dismissed too quickly, that because of Aaron's history with addiction and mental health, the authorities didn't treat the scene like a potential crime. But what if she was right? In the months leading up to his death, Aaron was acting differently. He talked about being watched, about receiving threats, and even said there were people who wanted to get rid of him. He posted TikTok videos looking nervous, distracted, and visibly agitated. He spoke of tapes he had, information that could ruin lives. He even said if anything happened to him, it wouldn't be an accident. 2 days before his death, one of his last videos showed him saying cryptically, "They're trying to silence me." What did he know? That's when the story takes a darker turn. In the wake of Aaron's death, internet sleuths and even some insiders began pointing to Sean Diddy Combs, a music mogul now facing a growing avalanche of legal accusations. Multiple lawsuits have emerged accusing Diddy of sexual assault, trafficking, coercion, and operating something many describe as a cult-like inner circle. Aaron had once hinted at attending some of these secretive industry parties, exclusive gatherings rumored to involve drugs, manipulation, and sometimes darker.
That was all the people that went to the puffy parties. That was all the people that did all those things thinking that there was never going to be a consequence for what they were doing. Got punked out and pimped out by some greater desire. You shouldn't have a greater desire than being a man. So I believe that's a big problem with a lot of the actors out there because they get fluid. And next thing you know, once you go fluid...
And sometimes darker activities. These weren't just parties. They were carefully orchestrated events. Some say even filmed for blackmail. Aaron never named Diddy directly, but he referenced powerful men, freak-offs, and having seen things that changed him. The theory? Aaron had evidence, and he was ready to talk. In 2024, a bombshell rocked the industry. Leaked tapes said to be in the hands of federal investigators allegedly show Diddy directing the kind of disturbing parties that had long been rumored, events with themes, props, roles, and hidden cameras. The recordings weren't just a debauchery. They were allegedly used as leverage. If anyone tried to speak out, they'd be reminded that they were on tape. It was blackmail in its most terrifying form. And the people caught on those tapes? Not just partygoers, but A-list celebrities, influencers, artists, actors. Some were willing participants. Others, not so much. The real horror of these tapes was in what they implied. Consent wasn't always a given. One of the most chilling confirmations came from actor Terrence Howard, who appeared on the PBD podcast in April 2025. He spoke about a strange and uncomfortable encounter with Diddy, one that he says felt like a setup. Howard's interview didn't name everything outright, but the implication was clear. Diddy had tried to proposition him, and the environment was not what Howard expected. And if that happened to a major actor like Terrence Howard, how many others didn't speak up? Another mystery. The housekeeper who found Aaron. She was new, someone he had reportedly helped out when she was in need. But her actions on the day he died are confusing. Why did she wait so long to check on him? Why did she seem unfazed? Why was the dog barking wildly behind a locked door?